gonna look at opening up your spinal rotation, which the importance of that lies in that if we can't rotate equally through our upper body or the upper part of the spine, that leaves us really susceptible to postural compensation, such as that computer posture where our tendency is to really sit and sort of forward round here and then let the shoulders come forward here. And then what might happen at the neck is that we find ourselves sort of lifting the chin up and toward the computer as to be able to see directly in a straight line through the eyes. So what we're gonna work on is really opening up this upper back. But in order to do that, because of the way that our thoracic spine is designed, that we have to really work to open rotational components first to allow them to slide and glide on one another to allow that extension mobility to feel comfortable within your body so that it isn't postural work to sit at your computer all day, but so that you find yourself in this nice comfortable place where you can hinge forward and back from the hips rather than forward and back from your spine. So one of the best and most simple ways to start working on that full spine rotation and kind of testing whether the right is equal to the left or left equal to the right, or which way you might be limited. So if you've got a foam roller, it's a great addition just so the upper leg can slide and glide. But what we're gonna do is just take yourself down so that your head can relax on the floor. The knee's gonna rest over the roller and arms are gonna come out straight in front of you. And all we're doing is opening up into this nice long position. And as you get here, I want you to notice what feels like is stretching. One, is it the front of your chest that you feel like is being mobilized here? Do you feel one spot of tension up through the spine? Do you feel like you can't breathe once you get here? Just take note of how you feel once you get into this open position. So once you feel where those limitations might be, the parts of your body that are making contact with the ground versus the parts that you feel like you're really overworking to get there. So as you come into that position now, as we rotate, I want you to think about making it a full spine rotation. So some of us will tend to pick this spot kind of right in the center where our low back meets the mid back, and you really kind of crank down and try to force that area to do most of the rotation. But if you can think about tailbone up to the base of the cervical spine and creating a full rotation, even if that means that the arm has to kind of reach up and over. And then when you get here, taking a big breath. So you're gonna fill and release. And then come back to center. And you'll just repeat this about 5 times, 5 to 8, really depending on how you feel. And until you feel like you're getting a full spine rotation and not that it's just one segmental motion of the spine. If you feel like the tightness is happening in through your chest wall rather than through the spine, this stretch will be for you next. So we're gonna roll into the belly, and this is probably a pretty familiar stretch, but we're gonna take the arms and stretch them out to the side, nose to the floor, forehead is resting down. And we're kind of thinking about what our shoulders are able to do. So in this position, I want you to draw the shoulders down and away from the ears, pushing the hands kind of into the floor to assist that motion, and then relax them down and let the front parts of the shoulders kind of press down into the floor. And then again, you'll rotate back and forward and just gain some awareness of what your scapula and your shoulders are willing to do in this position. And then we're gonna take it into this scorpion stretch. So you're gonna choose a foot and we're gonna drive it up and over. So we're looking at a couple of things happening here. One is certainly spine rotation, right? We're reaching up and over to stretch the spine. But the other piece to note is what's happening in the shoulder that's on the floor. So generally tendency will be to just let the shoulder kind of squish down to the floor and then we'll rotate over it. That provides us actually for a relatively nice anterior shoulder stretch and kind of more in the deltoid and in the bicep. But if we're looking to get into the pecs and actually create some change in mobility within the chest wall and anterior shoulder, then we've got to kind of keep it retracted down and back. So this time, as you bring the leg up and over, I want you to start with that shoulder kind of pulled back, and then don't let it press down into the floor. So really press your hand into the floor to really give you that stability, and then drive the leg up and back. You're certainly going to lose a little bit of distance and mobility in what you're able to achieve if you just relax into it, but you're going to gain a lot more mobility-wise by really activating and controlling what's happening in this position. So we'll do the same leg one more time. You're going to bring it over, really drive that shoulder up, and then also thinking about taking your other hand and reaching away from your body and kicking the leg back in toward the wall back behind. And then relax. And we'll do one more on that side, contracting everything, reaching, pushing with the foot, pushing with the hand on the floor to keep the shoulder elevated. And then you can relax and sink into this position and see what you're able to achieve. And then we'll come back to center and repeat all the same on the other side. Working on thoracic extension and mobility to be able to extend through the mid-spine as well as create that strength and stability. So we're going to come down into a child's pose, reaching the hands out in front. So we're not all the way relaxed into this pose, but you're actually going to draw the hands back towards you just a bit. And then we're doing sort of a modified cat-cow. So if we were doing a full cat-cow, right, we would tuck the spine here and then work to extend down. This is a great position to work on as well, but for today, we're focused on this upper spine. So in this child's pose / cat-cow position, what you're working to do is to round the spine and then extend. So in the extension, you're really thinking about pushing through the floor and driving yourself into extension, and it's not going to be a lot of great motion in comparison to what we can do with the low back, right? And then you'll relax and round out of it. Down and press. So I want you to think, pay attention to what's happening side to side, right? Are your right paraspinals, those muscles that line the spinal cord, are they contracting just as heavily on the right as they are on the left? Are your hips positioned in the center of your feet? Are you deviating your spine in side bend one way away from the other? Pay attention to your position as to create a lot of really great equal mobility on each side. Get about 10 or so in that position. So now working on strengthening spinal extensors into rotation. So we're going to come down on the belly. Bringing the hands back behind the head. So number one piece to remember in just about any exercise that you're doing when you're on your belly is that you don't want to just let your belly splay out into the floor. You want to be active, pulling the belly button up into the spine and creating a stable anterior core so that it wraps and activates into this posterior core as well. So never leave your abs out of it, even though you're lying on them and it's easy to just kind of splay them out into the mat, but then it really activates the wrong muscles in the wrong order. So for starters, we're going to pull belly into spine and get stable through our center, and then we're going to bring the hands just behind the head. You're going to lift just enough to get your face kind of cleared from the ground, and then we're going to rotate. Not full rotation, just enough to give yourself a twist, and then you're going to extend in that position. Thinking about not necessarily driving your elbow further into rotation, but rather thinking about taking your head, neck, and spine up to meet your tush and back down. Again, abs are staying tight, shoulders are staying stable. This isn't a shoulder pulling exercise, but rather a spine extension and stabilization exercise. Again, not a big movement. It's pretty small and controlled. Anywhere between 8 and 10. If the shoulders start feeling too fatigued to hold this stable position, you can certainly bring hands down in front of you so that your head can rest on your hands this way. And then you'll do the same thing. You're going to tighten your belly, drive yourself up, rotate slightly, and then extend. You should primarily be getting this sensation through your mid-back. If you're feeling it so much in your low back, that it's causing pain, try to reevaluate, re-tighten your abs, and try again. So now we'll move to the other side. We'll get in that same nice stable position. Head is resting on the floor. You're gonna pull the belly and rib cage up and in toward the spine. Lift yourself just to give clearance. Rotate, and then you're going to extend. And it's just a few inches. If you go more than that, it certainly will turn into a lumbar spine exercise rather than a mid-back. Slow and controlled, 8 to 10 reps.
And to finish this series, we're gonna do sort of like a swimmer with a big lat pull to complete it.
So you're gonna come back down into that same face down position. The belly is scooping up and toward the spine. The toes and thighs are staying on the floor. You're gonna bring your arms out into this W position. You're gonna lift yourself up from the floor. You can push your body there with your hands, and then stabilize, lift the hands from the floor, maintaining the same spine position. Make sure that your neck is staying neutral and eyes are just facing toward the floor. We're not trying to look up this way, right? Neutral spine. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. You're gonna push yourself from the floor, tighten those abs, lift the arms, and then you're just reaching up overhead as far as you can go without losing ab stability, and then pull and squeeze the elbows down and in toward the side body and hips, and then relax down. Press the hands into the floor, tighten your abs, lift the arms, reach, drive back, and relax. And again, we're gonna push, tighten, lift, reach, squeeze, and relax. Again,
Looking to complete anywhere between 8 and 10. Pay attention to your body fatigue. If it's starting to feel like too much, give it a rest for the day.